We're gonna talk about Chapter 22, Information Security as Everyone's Job, Every Day. These are the points we wanna talk in this presentation. This is our introduction. We can engage feature teams with InfoSec, inviting them to the product demonstration at the end of each development interval so that they can better understand the team goals in the context of organizational goals. Justin and Block observed information security and found Block A's at the end of the project were much more expensive than at the beginning, and InfoSec are the host. He also involves InfoSec throughout the creation of any new capability, which enables him to reduce the use of static checklists and use expertise throughout the entire software development process. The goal is to track all open security issues on the same work tracking system that development and operation are using to ensure work is visible and prioritized. Nick Galbraith, who headed up information security at Etsy for many years, describes how they treat security issues, saying all security issues into Jira, which all engineers use in their daily work, and they were either P1 or P2, meaning that they had to be fixed immediately or by the end of the week, even if the issue is only an internally facing application. He also stated that anytime there is a security issue, we conduct a post-mortem because it is better to educate the engineers on how to prevent it from happening again, as well as a great mechanism for transferring security knowledge to our engineer teams. Adding mechanism to our shared source code repository enables us to ensure the security of our application and environment. We do so by adding libraries that are pre-blessed by security to fulfill specific InfoSec objectives, such as authentication and encryption libraries and services. Version control is used by everyone in the DevOps value stream to build or support putting the information security artifacts, which make it easier to influence daily work of Dev and Ops because anything we create is available, searchable, and reusable. With centralized shared services organization, we could collaborate with them to create and operate shared security relevant platforms. The benefit of using predefined libraries, it skips the need to schedule a separate security design review for a selected module that engineers are using. It also assures the proper way to use the libraries. The goal is to provide the security libraries or services that every modern application or environment requires. Vulnerabilities in a PDF is the output of starting the security review after development is completed, which we would give to development and operations. The goal behind automating our information security tests is that they work along with all the other automated deployment pipeline. Fast feedback is very desirable for dev and ops as it notifies the engineers with potential insecurity so they can fix it and prevent it from happening in the future. Count is a tool designed to integrate into deployment pipelines which run automated security tests on our applications. Cloud even puts all its security tests in Herkin syntax text scripts. This graphic helps us to see the automated security testing running. Also, it provides fastest possible feedback. Happy Path validates user journeys by correcting the functionalities, looking at positive logic flows where everything goes as expected with no errors. Effective QA, InfoSec, and fraud practitioners will often focus on the sad path, which happen when things go wrong, especially in relation to security-related error conditions. Tests can be run consciously in our deployment pipeline when we generate them as a part of our automated unit of functional tests. including study analysis in our deployment pipeline testing will inspect the program code for runtime behaviors and point out the flags, backdoors, and potentially malicious code. Dynamic analysis testing, however, is executed while the program is in operation. Dependency scanning involves inventorying all our dependencies for binaries and executables. Twitter had security issues in 2009. Two serious security breaches occurred. First, in January, the Barack Obama Twitter account was hacked. Then, in April, the Twitter administrative accounts were compromised through a brute force dictionary attack. The consent order required that Twitter comply within 60 days by instituting a set of processes that were to be enforced for the following 20 years. Collins, Smolin, and Matatal identify: first, prevent security mistakes from being repeated; second, integrate security objectives into existing developer tools; third, preserve trust in development; fourth, maintain fast flow through automation; fifth, make everything security related self-service if possible; sixth, take a holistic approach to achieving InfoSec objectives. Over the years, by creating fast feedback for developers when they write insecure code and showing them how to fix the vulnerabilities, Bregman has reduced the rate of vulnerabilities found by 60%, as shown in this graph. Josh Corman observed that writing customized software, which has become the software supply chain that we are very more reliant upon. When selecting software, we detect when our software projects are relying on components or libraries that have no vulnerabilities, and help developers choose the components they use intentionally and with due care. Selecting these components. Examining cardholder data shows the importance of security of open source components. In the 2014 report, they studied over 85,000 breaches to better understand where attacks were coming from, how cardholder data was stolen, and factors leading to the breach. 2015 Sonatype State of the Software Supply Chain report analyzed the vulnerability data from the Nexus Central repository. This repository provides the build artifacts for over 605,000. We must put in monitoring controls to ensure that all production instances match these known good states. We do this by generating automated tests to ensure that all appropriate settings have been correctly applied for configuration hardening, database security settings, key length, and so forth. We want to understand the actual environment to ensure that we've properly hardened our environments against known vulnerabilities, such as scanning with SQL injection attacks. Doing this will help us detect any undesirable change as soon as they occur. Mike Bland explains, 18F was created within the General Services Administration to capitalize on the momentum generated by the healthcare.gov recovery to reform how the government builds and buys software. Marcus Schacht, one of the Verizon data researchers, observed in 2010 stated that the organization detected the security breach months or quarters after the breach occurred. The way the breach was detected was not an internal monitoring control, but was far more likely someone outside of the organization. Deploying the monitoring is required to fulfill our information security objective throughout our application and environments, as well as ensure that it is properly centralized to facilitate easy and meaningful analysis and response. We do this by integrating our security telemetry into the same tools that development, QA, and operations. Examples of how to detect problematic user behavior that could be an indicator of fraud and unauthorized access. We must create the relevant telemetry in our application are listed. By creating sufficient telemetry, we can detect early indicators of unauthorized access, especially in the components that are running on infrastructure that we do not control. Galbraith embedded those responsibilities throughout the DevOps value stream. Etsy engineers saw abnormal production program terminations, database syntax error, indication of SQL injection attacks. It is an example of a graph that every developer would see, which shows the number of potential SQL injection attacks that were attempted in the production environment. The infrastructure that supports our continuous integration and continuous deployment processes also presents a new surface area vulnerable to attack. Jonathan Claudius thought about ways to use CI/CD as a way to inject malicious code, which led to the question of where would be a good place to hide malicious code. The answer was obvious: in the unit test. In order to protect the integrity of our application and environment, we must also mitigate the attack vectors on our deployment pipeline. Also, to protect our continuous build integration or deployment pipeline. Our mitigation strategies may include hardening continuous build and integration server, reviewing all changes introduced into version control, instrumenting our repository to detect when test code contains suspicious API calls, and so forth. In this presentation, we went over the listed points. By doing so, we enable developer and operational productivity to increase while simultaneously increasing our overall safety. Our next step is to protect the deployment pipeline.